Jen here, and I have a layout for you for the How to Kill Your Scraps with Style summer YouTube hop that a bunch of us over at How to Kill a Kit with Style are putting on for the end of the summer and the end of August. Just a really fun way to kind of pull out all of those scraps that might be accumulating from all the kits you're putting together every month and hopefully get a little bit of inspiration on how to use them. I love scraps. I think scraps are the perfect things to keep in a bit of a kit for traveler's notebooks. Obviously, you have a smaller sized canvas to work with, and so having smaller bits and pieces and scraps works really good. So you can see here, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do a traveler's notebook insert layout, and my whole August kit is actually just made up of scraps. So you can see it right here as I'm flipping through it. It's little bits of sticker sheets that, you know, I've used up all but one, or the little word sticker sheets or phrases and that kind of stuff. It's bits of paper where it might just be, you know, a couple inches, or it's some of the branding strips off of papers, that kind of stuff. So I love to, in August, I love to take the scraps from the kits I put together in June and July and combine them, because most of the time in June and July I am scrapping travel and summery stuff, and so by August I have all of these scraps, and I know I'm probably going on summer vacation because we do every August, and so it just works out really great to take all of those scraps, put them all together in my little travel case that my sister made for me, and that's what I can use while I'm away on vacation. And generally I try to find 5 or 10 minutes every day where I can work on my little insert, and it's just, you know, 5 or 10 minutes. When you're away on vacation, you sometimes have long busy days, you're running around a lot, or in our case we went home. So this year was a little bit different with COVID and things like that, but when you go home, you're visiting lots of family and stuff, and your days can be pretty busy and hectic. So that 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes maybe in the morning just to kind of start your day off, or at the end of the day when the kids are getting ready for bed, you can sneak away for that 5 or 10 minutes, put together a little layout, get a little bit creative, and just have a little bit of me time. I have even snuck into the hotel bathrooms because oftentimes they have nice big long counters and stuff, and I've actually even sat in there and scrapped while the kids were trying to fall asleep in the hotel room. So I just love that little bit of time. I tend to do it more in the evenings because then I can take my little printer, print out a picture that kind of represented what we did that day, or sometimes a couple little pictures like I've done for this layout, and then it gives you a bit of time to reflect on what you did for the day and have your little bit of me time and just unwind a little bit. So most of the time that happens. It didn't happen for me on this particular trip. We just didn't have it happen. And so the kids usually were actually swimming until 8:30 or 9. Like, they really pushed it. We watched the sunset over the lake pretty much every night, and by the time we all got settled and in our PJs and stuff, I just was zonked, and so I fell asleep pretty quickly. But as soon as I got home, I really wanted to pull this out and start working on it because I like to work on these types of journals when the memories are still fresh. So that's what I'm doing. That's what my layout is here. This is just documenting our drive. So I don't print out every single picture that I take and put it into these traveler's notebooks. This is more just like a couple photos every day that represent general feeling of what I did for that day. And so these are actually over a couple different days. Our drive took 4 days, and I just wanted to document that one of the things, and I think you do this in the United States as well, so it's not just a Canadian thing, but driving down the Trans-Canada, every little town has their something, their biggest something, or their, you know, weirdest something or whatever it might be. Usually it's biggest something or a statue commemorating the home of something. And so this trip, because we spread it out and took 4 days instead of our traditional 3 days, we were able to stop a little bit more. And so we got to stop at all the province signs. We missed Manitoba's. We always miss Manitoba's. Sorry, Manitoba. But I'm going to use my stamp here to kind of represent Manitoba, because obviously we did drive through it from Alberta to Ontario. So I'm just going to do that to kind of represent Manitoba. But we stopped at the province signs, and we stopped at the world's biggest goose in Wawa, and a giant Inukshuk in Vermilion Bay, and the world's largest moose in Moose Jaw, and the little commemorative statue for Winnie the Pooh in White River. So I just wanted to be able to remember and document that I did this kind of stuff when I was younger, and now I'm doing it with my kids, and it's kind of one of those rites of passage or like milestones for a kid to experience that kind of stuff on a road trip. So I think that using scraps is what is really going to help me make this whole process go really quickly, because a lot of the decisions are already made for you. With scraps, you might be limited to the size of the scraps that you have available. If you're using scraps of sticker sheets, you only have a few stickers left over. So you really just are using what's there. You don't have to think too much about it. You kind of just pick and plop things down as they fit together nicely. So in that sense, it goes faster, because I feel like I'm not being as fussy with what I'm using, with the products I'm using, and how I'm pulling them all together. And I'm limiting my decisions. So instead of looking through everything I own, I'm just limiting myself to these few basic pieces. So I feel like my decision-making process kind of goes quicker anyways, because in my head I've already resolved to the fact that these are the scraps and I've got to use them the way that they are, kind of thing. I'm not having to worry about, cutting into a 12 by 12 and how am I going to make it all fit or anything like that. I hope I'm making sense when I say this. I also just love how using scraps, sometimes you have to get a little bit creative. So in this case here with the branding strips, I was just kind of laying them down to figure out if I thought that I could make them work. And I realized that I kind of liked the little semicircle bottoms where I cut them in half. I actually cut them at the little circle hole that I think they came from a paper pad that was hanging in the store. And so I cut them where the circle was, thinking that that was about the halfway mark, and so they fit better into my kit. But also I could just easily cut off that one little piece of the strip to make them straight. And I kind of liked that little detail. It was just something a little bit different, so I left that in there. And it's probably something that I would never do, but because I sort of had decided here are the elements I want to use and how am I going to make them fit into the layout nicely, it was that little extra creativity that added some interest and added just a unique detail. So I love when using scraps kind of pulls that out of you. You have to think outside of the box sometimes. So I used those branding strips. I used that paper. I decided to turn one of those papers into a pocket, just a very, very simple pocket. So basically I just put my adhesive along 3 sides, and then just to give a little notch to the pocket instead of keeping it straight along the top. I don't have a circle punch that is small enough that kind of gives that like library pocket notch to the top, so I decided to just cut a little slit in the paper and I folded both halves. And so again, that's that just kind of creative little detail that using scraps and limited supplies can sometimes inspire in you. And so then I backed some of my pictures, just the ones on the left-hand side, so they could stand out a little bit more, with a scrap of paper that had a wood grain print to it. And then on the left-hand side, I didn't back any of those or mat any of those photos because I kind of put them all together as one big cluster. And I added a few stickers from Simple Stories. You can see this sheet here just has like hearts and stars and things. And that enjoy is from Simple Stories. And then I have a few little Tim Holtz phrases there. Enjoy the journey and not all who wander are lost. I added my title, All the Biggests. And that's it. That's my layout for this hop. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please keep hopping along by using the links in the description box below for lots more inspiration on how to kill your scraps. And until next time, stay safe. Happy scrapping. Bye.